You know, race relationships have to do with race relationships. You're white or whatever you are, I'm black or whatever I am. We're standing here talking now. That's how we get things done. You can't legislate love. The President of the United States can't legislate us into liking each other. We have to step forward and ask questions about each other and engage. There's no law that says, oh, because I'm president, you all got to get along now. So it's up to us.
And there's been so many protests in America, especially during the election. Black Lives Matter movement, for example, and those issues. Has that movement in particular, the Black Lives Matter movement, helped race relations or not in America?
Well, listen, we live in America, and in America we have the freedom to express ourselves. We shouldn't take that for granted. So whatever the movements are, whether you agree with them or don't, they have the right to express themselves.
Exactly. And if Black Lives Matter decides to be a business, it can be, as he says. It's up to us to make emotion through a little mind and testing of relatively simple numbers a picture. It's very often different from how it's sold, which also converts Black Lives Matter to a business and not as a decent move.
Just like people say, oh, the difficulty of making a movie. I'm like, send your son to Iraq. That's difficult. It's just a movie. It's like, relax. I don't play that precious nonsense. Oh, we're moving over. Get out of here. You know, your son got shot in the face. That's difficult. Making a movie is a luxury. It's a gift. It's an opportunity. And most importantly, it's a gift. Obviously, everybody here is talented enough to do that. But don't get it twisted. It's just a movie. It ain't that big a deal.
This is just realization. Honestly, this is a God-fearing man. You all remember that.
Like, send your son to Iraq. That's difficult. It's just a movie. It's like, relax. I don't play that precious nonsense. Oh, we're moving over. Get out of here. You know, your son got shot in the face. That's difficult. Making a movie is a luxury.
Factual. There are way deeper things in the world to worry about. Making a movie is a luxury.
I was a garbage man, like Troy. You get 8 hours worth of work, but you can do it in 3. So you can go home as soon as you finish. Post office, you get 3 hours worth of work and you make it last 8. I did both. I like being the garbage man better. But they weren't bad jobs. It's like, people say, oh, the difficulty of making a movie. I'm like, send your son to Iraq. That's difficult. It's just a movie. It's like, relax. I don't play that precious nonsense. Oh, we're moving over. Get out of here. You know, your son got shot in the face. That's difficult. Making a movie is a luxury. It's a gift. It's an opportunity, and most importantly, it's a gift. Obviously, everybody here is talented enough to do that, but don't get it twisted. It's just a movie.
People in particular, do you think that we can truly make change as things are right now?
Well, it starts in the home. You know, if the father's not in the home, the boy will find the father in the streets. Yeah, I saw it in my generation and every generation before me and everyone since. It starts in the home. You know, if the streets raise you, then the judge becomes your mother and, and prison becomes your home.
What Mr. Washington said applies to all people of every race and religion. Love him or not, he deserves to be respected for his integrity.
I want to just ask you, though, about the issue of race relations, because the film touches upon that. Right now, under President Obama, over the last 8 years, in your mind, have race relations improved under his leadership?
Race relationships have to do with race relationships. You're white or whatever you are, I'm black or whatever I am. We're standing here talking now. That's how we get things done. You can't legislate love. The President of the United States can't legislate us into liking each other. We have to step forward and ask questions about each other and engage. There's no law that says, oh, because I'm president, you all got to get along now. So it's up to us.
He is telling the truth, It starts at home. Nothing but respect for this man. We wish we had him as a friend, not because he is famous, but because he is someone you can admire.
Offenses, and you look at Troy's and his choices. Initially, you get a negative reaction, but then when you try to understand him, go beyond what we see, we find that this is a good man who has been unjustly treated. I mean, this is a man who had big dreams and he ended up collecting garbage. Is this a fair assessment of him and his behavior?
You know, the thing about great writing, August Wilson, Eugene O'Neill, you name it, Arthur Miller, Tennessee Williams, there's so many layers. It's not just one thing. It's open to interpretation. You know, I've heard people say things, well, I felt he was this and that. I was like, oh, I never thought about that, but okay.
You know, people ask me, well, what do I want them to get from the film? I say, well, it depends upon what they bring to it. So what you see in Troy or feel about Troy has to do with your own life and, you know, standards and all of you.
Well, it's not only about anybody's life. It's, in a way, he personifies the Black American experience. He's somebody who, had he not faced the racial discrimination, he could have been a great athlete, a star. But because of that, he ended up a garbage collector. And perhaps this self-destructiveness, do you think, was it caused by racial discrimination? And is that the effect of racial discrimination on people?
Here's the thing you got to remember. When you talk about racial and you talk about discrimination, maybe, what if he just wasn't good enough? See, it's so easy to just say, oh, it's because of this. It's because of racism. Oh, I didn't get the job because of that. Maybe you weren't good enough. Maybe, like his wife says, you were just too old. She says, why don't you just admit it? You were too old. He's the one that's hung up on, you know.
But we know for a fact that so many talented African Americans who don't achieve their goals, or they are prevented or deprived from achieving their big dreams because of their skin color. I'll give you an example, Globetrotters. They were much better basket players than the white guys, but they were not allowed to play in the big league.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think it is the problem is the racial discrimination?
The right word is not is, was.
Was.
And that's not the only problem. That's one of the problems. Now, you can make it the only one if you'd like, but it's not the only one. But that's a fact. That's a fact. They couldn't play basketball in the NBA. Well, their grandfathers couldn't walk on the sidewalk, or they were slaves. So each generation is trying to do better for the next generation. That's what Rose could see by wanting her son to get an education, but Troy couldn't see. For him, his son doing better was him getting his son a job at the sanitation department. For his wife, the son doing better was getting a good education and going to college. So each generation, regardless of race, each generation, Polish, African American, whatever, is usually trying to help the next generation do better.
You said was. You mean, is it better now? An African American doesn't face these obstacles?
We're sitting in the Four Seasons talking about a movie. We wouldn't be doing this in 1957 unless my name was Poitier. There was only one person then. But yeah, so things are better, no question.
Because when you read, for instance, Obama's Audacity of Hope, he highlighted this issue.
Every time this man brings up race, you can tell by the look on Denzel's face that he is not having any of it.
Voluntary manslaughter, it's a good deal.
It's an enema of sunshine. Sorry for taking a nanosecond off of your assembly line rubber stamp existence. Hello?
For Black people in particular, do you think that we can truly make change as things are right now?
Well, it starts in the home. You know, if the father's not in the home, the boy will find the father in the streets. Yeah, I saw it in my generation and every generation before me and everyone since. It starts in the home. You know, if the streets raise you, then the judge becomes your mother, and you know, and prison becomes your home.
And in this movie, you're dealing with young activists. So do you feel any hope right now with the young folks who are lawyers, who are, you know, fighting and pushing for change?
I remember when I was doing the movie Malcolm X, and we were doing a speech up at Columbia. We had a bunch of students for Columbia University. In between takes, we were talking about things and how tough the world is and this and that. And I was like, well, you know, with everything we're talking about, does it make you want to give up? And they're like, oh, no, we're going to change it. I was like, oh, I'm the cynic. You know, they were thinking about changing things, you know. So I think that I pray that young people never lose that fire. I don't think they will. And needless to say, there's a lot for them to work on.
Well, thank you for giving us this movie.
He didn't say anything wrong. Character is built at home. For some of us, if you're not getting structure, love, or attention, or you don't have a strong male showing you how to be upright and a good person, then we get our education from the streets. And when that happens, it usually isn't a good thing. Well, there you have it, Denzel dropping truth bombs that shook Hollywood. His words hit different, don't they? Drop a comment if you agree, or tell us your take below. We can't wait to break down more celeb reality checks. Hit subscribe and stay honest.